the doll.
What are you guys doing with it?
You can sell it.
Probably right now it should.
That's weird, but the other one he just wait, you have to. Yeah, he just got it. I got the new one. I forgot I packed it. Why did you have a water bottle? Because I am. Yeah, because I stole yours. You ripped your water bottle? Why did you take it? Wait. I literally drew that. Hi, President Bush. 6. Wait, wait. Yeah, you missed it. You said 3 hours. Okay.
Nice.
Sure, Dad. You bring one back. I got 2 Yeah, I got 3.
Yeah, we're not leaving early. We're staying here for a while.
Oh, hey, Captain Spacer. I'm who's Spacer? No, you're Harrison. Put it on. Wait, what is that?
This is the Bush suit.
Get a pot. So you have a pot underneath you. Get your suit on.
Why did you
Because I can.
I'll put it on.
I plan to do it later after I cool off to get some time. I brought the suit.
Oh, no historical conquest. Why did you not do that?
You didn't realize I did this earlier. I'm sorry.
You know, if you get it now, you can buy all.
Yes, I plan to.
Doesn't Micah own the same class? Yeah. Wait, is he the only guy? No.
See, I made the bet only twice.
And it wasn't for me.
Yeah, no, because I only bet it twice. I only did the bet thing. I only did the word play once, twice. First time against him and his the table of the week against him. And he
Well, but Michael was at the table too, so he stole it because
he wasn't that. It was two other people. No, that. It wasn't another time I did it, and I did someone else. I did someone else when I tried going.
I was the one who played. Sorry about that. Did you want your captain card? Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, you're just fine. It's still live. Look at that. Somehow it's still live.
Okay. So you want me to put it back where it was, or do you want me to put it back where it was? Perfect.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay.
Well, then you just now shook on it that you owe me $100.
As I heard. Okay.
Yeah, you owe me $100.
Where'd you get the nail? It's a pen, I know.
Yeah.
There we go.
It's behind my ear. Well, I got it out of my ear. Said the magician.
Couldn't put it on.
You're a We don't know where Henry's body is. There's a gift to the dead. Do you like it? And we don't know where she got it. What? There's actually 4. Except
Wait, it's a 4?
no, it's a 10. There's 4 of them. Then we have to
I thought you said it's supposed to be 4.
There's a nail, a hammer, a
I'm gonna go
wrench,
see if I can find Josiah real quick.
and a screwdriver.
What did you do?
You guys can't keep up. Are you sending stuff now?
Yeah, these are people that have to leave.
Zach Edwards.
So give them a round of applause for coming. How many hours?
4 hours.
4 hours.
Yeah, and then I went down to another co-op, and now I'm up here, so that took another half hour.
Another half hour. So we thank you for coming, and I guess you're going to share some info with us, right?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Thank
So
you.
I was asked to teach on business and game design. Let me ask you this: who wants to hear about business? Okay. Who wants to hear about game design? Okay. I'm going to do a little bit of both. So I'll make sure I do an emphasis on game design. So first off, let me ask you one more question. So we asked about game design, we asked about business. How many of you would like to get straight A's in all your classes? I'm also going to talk about that as well. So game design actually helped me go from a A, B student to a straight A student. I'll teach you how that happened. Okay. Who here considers themselves an entrepreneur? Okay. Does anybody? Who knows what an entrepreneur is? Okay. Can you guys? Let me ask you this one more question before I get to this. How many of you can spell entrepreneur? Don't worry. I'm 36 years old, and I probably learned how to spell entrepreneur 10 years ago. So, yeah. But now, who wanted to be an entrepreneur? Who considers themselves an entrepreneur? Who knows what an entrepreneur is? Okay, so
An entrepreneur is somebody that makes up their own business.
that is the definition out of the dictionary. Here.
Thank you.
Yeah. It's an original set. I'm going to tell you the story of how that came into play. So that's the original set of Historical Conquest cards. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about an entrepreneur, and I want you to try to figure out who that is. Keep it to yourself until afterwards, until I ask you. Okay. So this young man started up a paper route at 6 years old when his brothers and sisters didn't want to do their own paper route. He was so adamant about being able to do the paper route, but he had one big problem. He couldn't ride a bike. So guess what he did? He taught himself how to ride a bike. Now, he actually asked his dad to teach him how to ride a bike, and his dad tried to, but he got into a large conversation with his neighbor. So the kid decided, you know, I'm done, and I'm going to teach myself, and he took off riding. So his dad was there, ready to teach him, and the kid got bored and said, I'm done, and started riding his bike. So after that, he started learning a little bit more about how to ride a bike. And again, by 6 years old, he took over his brothers and sisters' newspaper route. By the age of 9, he started selling lizards and snakes to his classmates before school. You know, he got 2 sales out of almost every one of those people because for some reason, those lizards or snakes disappeared during school and they had to buy them again. So he made a double sale. When he was 12, he started selling paintball guns. You guys know what paintball is? Yeah. Then all of a sudden the school said you can't sell guns at school. I understand that. So you guys can understand that. So he stopped selling, and he started selling computers and started making computers. All of a sudden the price of computers dropped dramatically, but the parts to make them stayed the same price, so he got out of that business. In college, he started up a student center, an entrepreneur incubator, which is basically where entrepreneurs come and start businesses, a library, and what they called a cult classic cafe, which is basically a restaurant that you can go sit down and watch any of the old movies while you're eating. Well, they shut that down because, or they stopped that before it actually happened because Hollywood wants a piece of somebody trying to sell their movies. Has anyone figured out who this person is?
You.
Right. Yeah, it was me. By the age of 23, I made a big move, which actually came from the help of an English teacher. So I was in an English class, learning about reading, writing, and such. And I received an assignment, and this is in college. I received an assignment to create a product that would change the world. Now, in in high school, I hated history, which is quite funny because now I run a history company, right? I hated history because how it was taught. I didn't like you've seen in the public schools, the big old textbooks, little writing, really old pictures, boring. So I saw I had that issue, and that was my own issue. That wasn't other people, that was mostly my issue. And I knew a lot of people had that same issue. But what was one of the things that I did like doing? What do you guys think? What's one of the things that... You're right, I like games. Have you ever heard of Magic the Gathering?
Yes.
Yep. So just those that have not heard of it, it's like Pokemon or Yu-Gi-Oh, but darker. Had ghouls, goblins, things like that. My mom actually really disliked it. So, yep. You guys understand that? So, I was 16 years old, and my mom actually told me to, she negotiated with me. You know what that means?
Yeah.
She made a deal with me to get rid of my cards. She said I could start driving before I received my Eagle, which was the requirement before I could start driving. I had to get my Eagle Scout award. But I could start driving if I got rid of those cards. So I had my cards, or I could drive. Which one did I choose? Oh, I have a mixture. Okay. Actually, the last one, they all said cards. I picked cards. I kept the cards. No, actually, I got rid of the cards. I was 16 years old. I was about to start dating. I was about to be able to drive my friends around. I was able to stay out later because I had a car and my parents didn't have to come pick me up. I picked the car. I wanted to drive. So I took, and those that know Magic will hate me for this, I took basically a binder full of alpha cards, first edition, and I sold them for 40 bucks. I spent hundreds of dollars on that set. Yep. But at the same time, it was the best thing I'd ever done. Because if I had not gotten rid of those cards, this probably wouldn't have been here. And the reason is because when I went to college, I had the issue that I didn't like history. And a lot of youth don't like history, don't like learning history. The other issue is a lot of parents didn't like the game of Magic. Well, there's got to be some sort of compromise, right? When you're at home, the best way of working with your family is compromising sometimes, right? Mm-hmm. So the compromise between those two issues was to create a game, much like Magic, or another game I like, the game of Risk, and to create a history game, one that everyone can enjoy. So, yeah, that's basically my history of that. I've got one more. So it's really interesting. I was listening to a podcast a few days ago, and they talked about how entrepreneurs, again, we're still on the topic of entrepreneurs are built off a stock of other business people. So in the families that they come from, most likely they have someone that's entrepreneurship minded. They want to start businesses. No one in my family had a bone in their body that was an entrepreneurship bone. Nobody in their life would ever want to start up a business in my family. And there was one of my siblings, my brother, who after I gave him my vision, he decided that he was going to change that. He actually went to get his MBA, and he actually started working for me. But besides him, nobody else wanted anything to do with business. And actually, funny enough, when I tell them I want to start creating games as my career, they said, "Oh, that's nice." And you know that kind of feeling, yeah, that's nice. As in, we'll see how long that lasts. But we've been in business for 5 years. Here's another statistic from the outside world. They say that most businesses, let me ask you this. What percentage of businesses fail in the first 5 years? Take a guess. I mean, how about a percentage?
50%.
75, 50%?
95.
I was gonna say 50, but he took it.
Right?
99.
He's right. 95% of businesses fail in their first 5 years. So, if 95% of businesses fail, why would I ever want to get into business? Well, there's a problem. Oh, go ahead. Why would you want to go into business?
Just try and see if it will work for yourself.
Well, there's something about the statistic that's wrong. What they do is they take all these numbers of all the business licenses. Basically, when you start a business, you get a license from your state or your city to start doing business. They basically take the number of those that close. Well, the problem is it doesn't tell you why. An entrepreneur, myself included, is the person that will start working on a project and then all of a sudden, squirrel! And then they'll start working on that project and squirrel! Start working on that project. And so all of a sudden, they're not doing the original project they were doing because they're so distracted by other things they want to do. So most of these failed companies, a lot of these failed companies are because that person that started that business started doing something else and started doing another thing.
So that means a lot of businesses are by the same person?
A lot of businesses are. I've started up 7 in the last 2-3 years, and 4 of them are still going. Other ones are actually, like Historical Conquest has had 3 changes. I used to have it up in Alaska, and I closed it because it moved down to Missouri. Then I started up Totally Medieval, which is a different company, and I'll talk to you about the reason why I do this. But then I'm starting up the Genius Game Club, which is something really big that's going on. I'll tell you at the end. Let me see. I also have Gaming Their System, which is a business coaching venture that I'm in. So there's a lot of different things that I'm doing. But if you manage them right, they can actually succeed. Now, because everyone wants to get into game design, I'm going to bypass some of these things that I was going to talk about. So let me ask you this. Who here would like me to teach you how to never fail? Too bad. Not going to happen. You know why?
Because that's impossible.
It's not just that it's impossible. It's because that will help you learn. If you never failed in your life, would you really learn?
No.
What, have you ever played a game that you beat the first time you played it?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, that backfired on me.
Yes.
Most games that you play, can you beat the whole game the first time?
Nope.
Video games?
Someone said yes, though. Who said yes?
I do.
You can beat most games the first time you play it?
No, not most.
Okay.
You can't.
Most people, the reason why games are so exciting and education is not as exciting is because they, in school, you take a test and you get a solid grade. You get an A, B, C, D, whatever. In a game, you fail, you try again. You fail again, you try again. What are you doing every time you fail?
Trying again.
You're learning.
So
Yeah.
there's no A, B, C, D. There's win or lose.
There's win or lose.
There is no try.
Or there's try again. You keep trying because you keep learning. Especially in a lot of games, you go in and you learn where, like if you're doing a game where there's different people in the area, you're going to learn where those people are. If you're going to learn different scenarios that you want to be able to win. If you play Trace's deck that I hear is overpowered,
Yes.
you start learning about the way he plays a game. You played it? Yeah. So that's why failure is so important. As you know, as I told you in the story, I started a paper route. You know what happened to that paper route? I actually moved 3 times during paper routes. I started in Connecticut. My dad was in the Coast Guard. We went to California. And I ran paper routes in both areas and was very successful at it. Actually, I was so successful, I saved so much money up that I bought my family's first computer, first PC.
Wow.
Yeah. And back then, they were like $2,000 for a single computer. And it was a desktop, really old, yeah.
Enterprise one. I got a really old desktop computer. It's called Entertainment. It's a Windows Me.
Yeah.
So that's real old. So.
Well, and the reason why I had to specify that I bought them the first PC, the computer that they had before that, you ever heard of a floppy disk?
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Some people have heard of it. Yeah, you had floppy disk. The printer had connectors on the side. It wasn't a sheet of paper. They were all connected, and then you had to pull it off, and you had to rip off the sides so you could have a single piece of paper. That's how. That's what the computer was before. So I bought their first PC, and it's a whole other story, and I won't get into that. But okay, so I started the newspaper business when I went up to Alaska. It was all adults with cars driving around delivering newspapers. I was a kid. I was 15 years old at the time. Couldn't do that. I didn't have a car. My parents weren't going to drive me around every morning. So it didn't exactly fail, but I couldn't do that job anymore. Started selling lizards and snakes. You know how that ended? It ended with me in the principal's office. Because one of the bullies, now I'm not quite sure if this is actually true, but one of the bullies got a snake in his backpack. So yeah, so that one failed. Computers, prices started going up. PCs started going down. The prices of parts either stayed the same or went up. I couldn't compete against Dell and Compaq that was making computers, customizing computers. So that had to go up. Paintball guns, I couldn't sell in schools, which is where I had all my contacts. That failed. I've had all these different failures, but because of those failures, I was able to do what I'm doing today. I learned a lot through my failures.
What kind of snakes?
At that point, we were in California, so it was gopher snakes, pintail snakes, literally small ones like a pencil, gray. Right?
Where'd you find them?
Oh, I caught them all around the house.
Oh, that's wonderful.
So my mom loved it because there's no snakes around the house. We had this really weird lizard. It's called the alligator lizard. When it latches onto your finger or anywhere, it will not let go. Yeah, you have to actually force it. It's like almost breaking its face to have it detach.
Sound like you're speaking from experience.
Yeah, a few times. Actually, I was the most accident-prone kid, and that's a whole other story. But it was through my failures that I was able to learn a lot.
Did you get bit by the alligator snake?
Mm-hmm.
Did it hurt?
Oh yeah, they hurt a lot. So much that you're whipping them around trying to get them off, and they will not come off. Okay, so here's another thing. Let's see. How many here? Oh yeah, I already asked that. Let me tell you this one, last thing, and then we'll go into game design. How much do you think, so you've heard my experiences. As an entrepreneur, as I told you, we're like dogs with a squirrel running off on this direction and running off that direction. Have you ever seen the movie Up? Yeah. The squirrel moment. That's what an entrepreneur is. A lot of times they're going back and forth. If you ever want to start a business, I see there was a few people that want to start businesses. It's most likely going to change at some point as well. So that's another way of business failed. It didn't exactly fail. It was just a different way of looking at it. So I'm going to show you really fast my experiences and how my businesses molded. Okay, so I went from newspapers, to, which was a service. So there's different types of businesses you can have. You have a service business like lawn mowing or paper routes, to retail. You go to the two stores that carry us in this area are Happy Up and Underground Dojo, and they are a retail store. They sell products. They don't really make the products, they just sell them. They have manufacturing, which I do, but I didn't do this until way later. I actually had a news site on the web that had tens of thousands on a good day of people that would check it for the news. And when I finally figured out that I could not do it anymore, I actually woke up at 4 in the morning and went to bed at 12 o'clock or 1 in the morning, just so I could be on top of it, because I didn't know about delegation or getting somebody else to help me run the business. I ended up ending it, and when I ended it, I had senators, congressmen, mayors, very influential people asking me to please put it back on, or find a way of getting it to get going. But I couldn't. I couldn't because I couldn't do the help. I didn't know about delegation, which is another point we could get into afterwards. And so that's why I came to game design. Now I'm going to tell you another story. I'm going to make this a long story, but at the same time I'm going to teach you different parts of game design that are really important if you want to create a game. Now let me ask you this before I start. How many of you have actually designed a game before?
Several failed attempts.
That's all good, right? Failure is good. Okay? Great. How many have actually, beyond just designing it, how many have actually made it into a physical product that you can actually play at home? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So when I started this up, I had no experience in game design. I had no one teaching me. Yes?
My uncle designed a game called Dragonstone Mine, and now it's selling.
Awesome. Yeah. See, there's a lot of people out there that have done games and been able to get them out. But there's a large process that comes from it. And if you've gotten a game actually to physical form, you've gotten half the way. So I'm going to teach you the other half and things that you've already experienced. And so you could even give us some enlightenment too, if you want. So let me tell you. So when I went to college, I told you that I had an English teacher that gave me a one-page essay that I had to write. It was about a product that would change the world. So I said, great, I'm going to write this product. What am I going to write about? So your product has to have some sort of purpose for you. It has to be part of you, something that you're interested in. So that's the first step, is finding something that you really like to do. So, or maybe you make a game that you really like and you want to make it better. That's another way of doing it. So when I went off to college and I had this assignment, I fulfilled the assignment and I got an A for it because I was excited about it. Then I got another assignment and it was about doing I think it was like a biography on someone from history. Well, that's cool. I'm creating a history game, so let me learn about a person. So I made that part of the game as well. All of a sudden, every class I went to, I started grabbing things from those classes. If I went to math class, there was things I was learning in math class that I actually used in the development of my game. I went to business, I learned about doing surveys. So surveys, I wanted to know now I loved the game that I was, the product I was designing, but I wanted to know what other people thought. So, Historical Conquest never started like this. Didn't even start close like this. Who here collects baseball cards? About 10%, maybe 5 to 10% of you guys. Okay, maybe I should say it this way. Who still collects baseball cards? Actively. Okay, maybe 3, maybe 4 of you guys. So I came up with the idea that I wanted to create a game, not even a game, a collectible collectible card. It was going to be on everyone from history. A baseball card, a basketball card, a football card, but of Albert Einstein, George Washington, Abraham Lincoln. When I went to bring out a survey about it, asking people what they thought, what do you think they said? What's that?
Zach Edwards? You?
No. What do you think they said about the game?
Oh.
The card that I wanted to produce.
That's nice.
Yeah, it's basically that. Right.
I think this is a good idea. Maybe
Okay.
It's a good idea, but not right now.
Okay.
It will help kids learn about history in a fun way.
Okay. One more.
It might work.
Might work. Actually, every single one of them was the opposite. They said, this is a horrible idea. I don't think you should do it. And they didn't know I was doing it. I just said, what do you think about this? And they shot me down, every single one of them. So automatically I knew, okay, I like the idea, but if I was to sell it, I want to know what the people who were going to buy it wanted. So the first step was to find out what you want. The next step is to come up with some idea and then bring it to whoever you want to play with, or whoever you think if you want to sell it at some point, whoever you might want to sell it to. You want to bring the idea to them. Now, my son, Ethan, who actually started up Full Medieval, I'll tell you about this in a little bit. He started this idea when he was 5 years old. And he came up with this idea, and if he had made that idea into a game, it probably would not have sold. He was 5 years old, he didn't understand game design or any of these things. But we were able to change it and mold it. So he started up a YouTube channel of his own, and he was doing all these goofy things. And I said, Ethan, do you think that other people are going to want to watch that? He's like, no, probably not. I was like, okay, do you want fans to subscribe to your channel? He said, yeah. Then if you don't think they're going to watch it, why would they subscribe to your channel? He's like, okay, I guess you're right. So in game design, if you want other people to like it, you're going to have to ask them what they like. You want to make sure that they like what you're designing. Let's see. Also, this is a big thing with games, especially right now. They need to be presentable. They need to look cool. Remember when I was talking to you about history class? It was a textbook this thick, had to read 20 pages of small print, and they had old pictures. What would have happened if I took George Washington and I put the old picture that you can find all over the web on there? Wouldn't have been that big of a sell. Yeah, exactly. So I was actually walking through art class. That was actually one of the things that was on the survey as well. I was walking through my art class, and all of a sudden on all the walls they had some fantasy pictures that were drawn. And I said, I like those pictures. And I'm like, wait a second, if I like those pictures, other people will like them. So maybe it's something I need to do on those cards. So I had to make the game presentable to the people that I was going to try to sell it to or play with. So you know what I did? I actually probably went a little overboard, and I do not suggest it this way. But I actually went out to my college, and I posted up contests all over the bulletin boards. The winner of the contest, to give me the best picture of Albert Einstein, will get $200. And these are students that were already drawing these things for one of their classes. So I had dozens of people send me entries. And I said, this is great, but I now need, I think it was 150 cards, or 150 images right after that. So I hired the number one, his name was Tavener, hired him on, and I said, I will pay your tuition for one semester if you give me 50 illustrations. Now, the price of illustrations have gone up dramatically, people that draw, especially because it was a college student. But that was probably one of the best ideas that I had when it came to getting someone to do it for me for an inexpensive price. But like me, I can't just do one thing, I have to do multiple things, and so I actually hired the top 3, and I paid their tuition. And so it was $2,000 per semester. So three students, and you know my history, I've been working since I was 6 years old. So I hired on 3 artists to do all my illustrations. And if you see the more cartoonish images, the ones who are somewhat semi-phasing out, some of them, those are the ones that they designed. There was Tavener, there was Danny, and there was Nick. And so these people, they did all these, and then I actually offered them a partnership if they would continue on. And some of them continued on. One got married, moved on, one graduated and moved on. But I knew it had to look good. So actually just before I did this competition, I wanted to make sure that I wanted to do this product. I wanted to be what I wanted to produce. So I actually went out and did another survey. I actually stole an image off the internet, used an image from the internet, and I posted it on one of my cards. I also figured out that no one's going to buy trading cards of these historical figures. So I changed the orientation, and because I like the game of Magic, I made it almost like Magic. And I made it like Magic in the game of Risk, because I love those two games. So making it into a game design, I then presented it to the students again, and I did a survey. What do you think they came up with this time?
They loved it.
Yeah. So So it was so funny because even the cheerleaders were excited about the game. Like, wait, cheerleaders? Because they saw the potential for their brothers or their friends and who they knew. And that would be really cool because it would get them interested and excited about history. So they caught on to the vision. And no, it was not because the cheerleaders got excited about the game that I designed it. But that was one of the things that I did. So now I came to the point of functionality. So we have an idea that we like, right? We have an idea about something that that other people like, and we have it that looks really cool. What's the next step? What do you think?
Making more of it for mass production, basically.
Okay, mass production. Are you going to mass produce something that you don't know if it works?
No.
See, I didn't even know if it worked. So I had one card. That was it. I just did a mock-up. Go ahead.
In computer games, it's called playability, but like you have to make sure it can be different every time and it's not always the same. There needs to be some randomizations.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So in this, I had to make sure that it had gameability.
Playability.
Playability. That's right. Playability. I had to make sure that the gameplay worked. And so what I did was I printed up dozens of prototypes of the game right off my printer, and I started playing with my friends. And these were this thin of paper. But my friends wanted to play it. And then they wanted more. And so as Tavner, Danny, and Nick, I'm trying to remember if it was actually Nick, the last one, but all of a sudden, they started producing all the illustrations. I started putting together the abilities and the history of the games. And then it leads to the fact that I actually spent $12,000 being a college student to print my game. It was a great idea, and at the same time, not a great idea. So this is one of my failures when it comes to Historical Conquest. How it started. Let's see, 4 months after I had come up with Historical Conquest, who here knows the History Channel? Yeah, History Channel. Has a very popular name, has millions of dollars behind it. 4 months after I produced this, the History Channel came up with their own history-based game. It was more based on fantasy, there was no education in it. And I tried to go out to distributors. So the distributors had two choices. They had my game, and they had the History Channel's game. I have no money to get it out, what's called marketing. I have no money to market to them. And I have the History Channel, which has millions of dollars behind it, and as much marketing because it has its own channel on TV. So which one do you think they chose?
History.
History Channel. The other problem was that I went to retailers, and unless I got the distributors to start selling my game, they didn't want to pick it up. Because the distributor, they go all through all the testing and everything, they basically back it with their name. And so at that point, the distributor said, already said no because they didn't want to have two history games at the exact same time coming out. And so at that point, I actually got married. And my wife wisely told me to put away the game and go get a real job. So that's what I did. I put away the game. Now in game design, there are a lot of failures. But as we already talked about, failures is not a bad thing. There's a lot of pitfalls. There's games you might produce and then all of a sudden people say, I don't like this game. Or another game comes out just like it. Well, you could either call it a failure and end it, or you can keep going. Maybe it's not the time. Now here's, as I said, my wife told me very wisely to go get another job. That was the wisest thing she's ever told me. For one thing, he's laughing, but it's true. So it's very wise because for one thing, I didn't know about homeschooling. I was in the public school, had no idea about homeschooling. And who's been the greatest supporters of Historical Conquest? Homeschoolers. Yeah. So the homeschoolers have made our company. So one of the big things to know about if you want to make your game and then you want to get it out is you have to make sure the customers are there. Now it's more than just, will the customers play it, but can you get it actually out? So you've got a great game, you think it's great, your friends think it's great, your family thinks it's great, maybe even a few more people think it's great. But you have to be able to get it out. And this is the hardest thing when it comes to gameplay and actually getting it out, is making it so that other people will catch the vision of it. So one of the big things, I have deep appreciation for Underground Dojo. Actually, I have great appreciation for Kay for this. But Underground Dojo, Happy Up, for grabbing onto the vision and selling our game in their stores. But there's been a really big issue when it comes to a lot of gamers. They do not want anything to do with history. They don't want anything to do with reality. A lot of people that play games, and I was right there with them. They come home from school, and that's the end of school. They want to go play their games. They want to go do other things. They don't want to go back to the idea of anything that could be educational. So they won't even give it a chance. And a lot of the retailers, they see this. Well, if they're not even going to give it a chance, then I don't want to know if I want to carry it in my store. I say, sit down with me for 3 rounds. I did this to a Magic the Gathering champion. Sat down with him. He was supposed to sit down for 3, that was the agreement, 3 rounds. And this was actually an agreement because his girlfriend's mom was a teacher and she wanted to present it to her school. So he did it because of her. So we sat down for 3 rounds. We started at 9 o'clock. We ended at midnight because he had work the next day. I had to go to a convention, and his girlfriend's mom, which is her house, kicked him out, and I was staying with them, so sent me to bed. But as soon as he caught the vision of it, he was all in. So when it comes to game design, if you want to be able to get it out to people, you have to be able to present it in a way that gives them the vision of the game. It makes it easy to present. So that is my story, and that is how I like to present game design. There's a lot more to it. There's a lot more pieces to game design, but it would take a long time to explain all the different parts and pieces. But the most important things, again, are you want to make sure that you like the game. Because watch out, when you start playing it over and over and over again, especially if you're correcting it every time, it's called burnout. If you get burned out of your own game, it's not going to last. It's not going to keep going. You need to find out if your friends, your family, the people that you're going to play with it, like the game. You have to make sure it looks good. And it doesn't have to look good at first. But before you actually present it to a lot of people, it needs to look good. It also needs to have functionality. You need to prototype it. So one of the things that we've done, and this is, I appreciate so much the people that have helped us do this, but we decided that in order to prototype it and not just have our friends and family test it, we wanted to send it out to as many people as possible. We decided to do another way. We decided to give a discount to people, mostly homeschooling families, that wanted to test out the game and wanted to pre-order the game early. So all of them received the game in their house to try out before we mass produced the game. So all of a sudden we have all those people, they already bought the game, they want the best game to come out of it, so they're getting the best advice, the best critiques, and that's what they did. So we have a lot of critiques of totally medieval before we went to mass producing it. Historical Conquest, I had friends, family, people that, truthfully, they wanted me to feel good and could have easily just told me, yeah, it's a great game, and not liked it at all. But these are people that had no clue about, didn't know me personally, and had already pre-ordered the game, so they wanted to be invested in it. So we produced that. So let me tell you, do you guys want to hear what's happening with Historical Conquest in the near future?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah? Yes?
Yes.
Okay, there we go. Okay, so there are 4 main things that are happening that are new. Let's start off with, okay, history class. You remember I told you it was really boring. It was a big textbook, old images, hated it. I shouldn't say hated, sorry. I very much disliked it, very strongly. So the next step for Historical Conquest was to listen to our customers. And a lot of our customers said they loved the game, but they wanted more resources to be able to come out and learn about all the people in the game. So we said, hey, we can do that. So instead of sending them to a textbook or all over the web trying to find reliable resources to find more information, we created the first textbook of the American Revolution. The American Revolution, we actually gamified a curriculum. So you come in the first section, you get to see the image of whatever the card is. You get to see a summary of it. You actually, if you find someone in the summary that is somewhere else in the book, you can actually hit a hyperlink. Who here watches YouTube?
Everybody raise their hand.
Who has an influencer they like? Do you know what influencer is? It's someone that's on YouTube that you watch. A certain person. Who do you have? Yeah. You? Besides me, do you have anyone else? All right. You had your hand raised? Yeah. Yeah, just throw it in.
David Lopez.
Okay, David Lopez? Yeah. What else? Go ahead.
I can't pronounce the name.
Okay. There are a lot of those. Anybody else? Want to share an influencer?
Tom Sky, who made ASDF movie.
All right. Let me ask you, have you guys ever heard of Liberty Kids?
Yes.
Okay. All throughout here. Liberty Kids is a cartoon about the American Revolution and
Oh, yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
their YouTubes are throughout the curriculum. How about Crash Course?
Okay.
Course history.
Yep. So some of their videos have some things in there that we don't want to have in there, but adult humor. I'll just put it that way. So the good ones though, we actually put in here. There are reenactments of the American Revolution. There are people explaining different parts of the American Revolution. So you come to this page, say you went to the first page, and it's on the American, well, let's pick an actual page. Okay, the British regulars. So you come to this page, you're going to learn about the British regulars. Who knows who the regulars are? Who are the regulars?
The British Army.
Yeah. Yeah, so highly trained forces by the British, the Redcoats. So in here, you can actually learn about the uniforms, promises to them, the housing. But you flip over this page, you actually get to see from the historical images that you see online and the old textbooks, you get to see some of the pictures that they have here. You have stats, there's Did You Know? So Did you know the Quartering Act is the reason we have the Third Amendment of the Bill of Rights? And then it reads it out for you. The Quartering Act is where the British could come to your house and say, we're going to stay at your house, and we're going to eat your food, and you have no say in it. So, there's information on the Quartering Act. There's a quote, two quotes about the regulars. But here's the really cool thing. There's a guy that goes through the uniform and explains all the different parts and pieces about their guns, the reenactments. Right here is the poor British Redcoats. Talks about the situation that they were in. Remember, these are guys, these are the military, who leave their families in Great Britain and come to a fully different continent where they probably won't be home for 3, 4, 5 years. So he goes through and explains that. So this is the YouTube area. Right here is also really cool. This is where you can go to your local library. Right, sorry.
I was just saying, so this isn't like a paper book. Is it a book on the computer and they're clicking on
Yes.
the links on the screen?
Sorry, yeah. So this is all digital. This is all on the web, and it is actually a digital book that you can flip through pages, and you can send through hyperlinks, you can see the videos. I can actually do it on my phone, and you can get the video on the program itself. So you don't have to go to YouTube to get it. You can click it, and it will go right there, right in front of you. This right here, these are different books that we recommend if you want to learn more about the Redcoats, about the regulars. And it links you to Amazon, so you can get more information, or you can go to your local library to pick it up. And then here are some recommended websites to go find out more information about them. So you don't have to search the web anymore to find out more information about the cards that are in the game, or that were in the American Revolution. And I don't know why I forgot to grab this map, but now we have another map. And this is not it, but it's the 13 colonies and the 7 territories around the 13 colonies. So we have the first expansion game, the American Revolution, where you're either the British or the colonists, and you fight for against each other for the 13 colonies and the 7 territories. So this is a brand new game. The great thing is that you can actually take the cards from the original game and play them on this mat with additional cards because we needed more cards. But every figure in here is actually a card in the game. So the object of the game, instead of taking over the whole world, is to take over the 13 colonies and the 7 territories. The great thing about that is, when you read a textbook, what happens to the information? It goes in one ear,
Goes up the other.
out the other. This one, you're playing with it. You're getting all this information. It goes in one ear. Before it goes out the other, you're playing a game with the same cards that are on there. It's what we call a reinforcement tool. You will remember, you should be able to remember most of the information that you actually learned. So if you use this, if you do this in elementary school, and then you come to high school, you should be able to still remember some of the things that you learned from this curriculum. For me, when I learned in the public school, I probably didn't remember anything. Tell the truth. But here's another step to this. As I said, we gamified this. You actually get points for doing certain assignments. So you're in control of your scoring. And yes, your parents are supposed to check it, make sure all this, you're adding up right, and making sure that you actually do the work that you promised you have, or you say you have. But you can actually track what you are, and you can choose the assignments. So if some assignments are things that you really like watching the YouTubes, you get a certain amount of points for that. If you like doing the activities, now here's a thing I didn't tell you about. So back here, actually, on each of the, we call it a supplement page, the second page, there's a button at the bottom. It brings you back to different activities you can do. You get points for doing the activities. These are activities, everything from starting a discussion with your family to creating hand cannons, to, like this one, building a bridge. So we have all these different build it, debate, let's see, music. Who here likes music? Okay. We have a music, I think 2 activities in just this one section. There's actually 6 sections. This is actually just one of them, and it's not this big. It's just that they're all on one-sided. So, what we have for parents, if they want to track their kids and their students and see where they go, we have a schedule for them. But if the students are self-driven, this was created to be self-driven. So any one of you guys can pick this up and do it all by yourselves. You don't need your parents watching over you. Though it would be really good to be able to share it with them, and actually some of the activities are about sharing, and there is actually points if you teach your parents about it. So I'll tell you what, your parents don't know a lot of the stuff that's in here. No offense, parents. I'll share one. So right here, from the game, who can name that guy? Deswell. Oh, I guess I have a name on it too. How about that guy?
Lemuel Haynes.
You got it. Do you remember what they did? Here's more information about it. The next page, though, so those are 2 people, and then there's a supplement page. These are 16 different African Americans that fought in the American Revolution that no one ever talks about. We share their story. We tell you what they did. Another one that I really like, oh, and I think it's in the next section. Yep, right here. How many of you guys knew that there was an all-female militia in the American Revolution? Good for you. Yeah. So there's an all-American militia, all-female militia, run by, oh yeah, Prudence Rice. Now you flip over to the next page, guess what? Here's a list of 16 females that played a huge role in it. Now, even more than that, I love this. So, Crash Course has a substitute for the guy that, when he's not there, and they have this little cartoon character that goes through. And they called it Savage Women of the American Revolution. And I hope it's not insulting, but it's actually quite true. Some of the things that they did. They were amazing stories of women in the American Revolution. There's also another YouTube video on rock stars, women that were, yeah. And then there's the role of women, women in the war, and then we actually had another one which was Liberty Kids, with one of their cartoons. So this is the first, we call it the first fully digital, interactive, student-driven curriculum. That's one of the first things that we're doing right now that I'm really excited about. Another thing that we're really excited about, now this is a different company. The reason why I did this is because I wanted everyone that worked with Historical Conquest to focus on history, nothing else. I didn't want them to be distracted by math or by science. All of my companies, Historical Conquest, Totally Medieval, when we get to our math, our science, our English, we'll be doing as different companies. So this is Totally Medieval. Totally Medieval was designed by my son at age 5. We actually worked on the game design, and then we were going to produce it, but I was still doing Historical Conquest, and this was actually the first year that I was doing Historical Conquest. And because I had so much work to do, we basically put it off to the side. We actually made his game, and it's actually a completely different map. We made it his game, and we presented it to him for Christmas. So he was able to play his game. And over the 5 years, we were able to grow on it, to develop it. So now this year, we're happy to present the first epic math game. But in that process, there's something else that came from it. So it introduced math to a game. I thought it would be pretty easy, a little bit more difficult. We actually patented a process. You guys know what dice are, right?
Yep.
Okay. You ever heard of math dice? So these are like flashcards. Oh, I heard it. But where they have equations on them. If you answer the equation right, you get a certain amount of points for the game. So this is an epic adventure where, let me ask you this. How many play chess? Chess. This is a souped up type of chess where you're either the knights or the Vikings and you battle against each other to take over one another. All the cards in these rectangles are different terrain, and you don't know what they are. They're all flipped upside down, placed on here, and actually, I had my set, but I actually left it at the last co-op. But, so they're basically placed upside down, and so when you travel onto them, they flip over, and that terrain can either help you in your adventure or hurt you. Might actually send some of your guys to the discard pile. So, you're constantly finding new terrain as you try to do it. So it's not just your opponent that's against you, the whole game is against you. So, would you be willing to play with flashcards if you were able to do that?
Yeah.
Yep.
There you go, yeah.
Are those figures part of the Totally Medieval?
Yeah, I guess I should bring that up. It's not part of Totally Medieval, it's actually part of Historical Conquest.
Yeah, it's
So
like
I'll bring that up.
figurines for your map.
Yep. So the other cards that I had in my set that I left at the other co-op, you can have, there's one king, one queen. Now these are all in cards. One king, one queen, 2 rooks, 2 bishops, 2 knights, 8 pawns. What is it?
Chess.
Game of chess. So you can actually play with the cards on the mat, or you can take all the cards out, hold, oh, thank you, there. You can take all the cards off the table, and these are the ones for Historical Conquest, but you can use the figurines in the place. So it becomes a miniature game. So you have miniatures walking over here. So your opponent doesn't know how strong you are because you have your cards back here, while you have your figures moving out here. But here's the cool thing. You remember how I said there is one king, one queen to set up a chess? You can take all those pieces off, put them on a regular chessboard, and now your chessboard is now, you're the knights and someone else is the Vikings. Or while someone else has regular chess pieces, you have souped up chess pieces. So that's what's really cool with Totally Medieval. I'll show you a little bit of the cards really fast. So these are, so for the Vikings, this is actually Eric the Red. You guys know who Eric the Red is? This is Eric the Red's wife, which I'm not going to try to pronounce her name. We have Viking Scouts. each of the groups start off in what's called their homeland. So it's a Viking fortress, which is placed in front of you, and is where everyone starts. And the object of the game is to conquer their homeland. But again, here for the bishop, we have the Gothi, which is the Vikings' medicine man, like
Advisor.
yeah, advisor. Right? You have dragon ships, you have Viking berserkers, and such. So for the knights, you basically have everyone from the Knights Templar, and on each of the cards, there's actually information about those people. Now I was telling you about the terrain. Here's the desert. Cliffs of Insanity. Where'd it come from?
Insanity.
Princess Bride.
What's that?
Princess Bride.
Princess Bride, that's right.
Yeah.
And then we also have the swamps, fiery swamps. They're not trademarks. But also, so you have these terrains all over the board. Terrains. But we also have, in the game, the weather actually changes as well. Yeah, so it's another dynamic. The weather changes, and it might help you, it might hinder you. So if I'm a knight, and I'm walking through, and all of a sudden it gets, I think it was thick fog, it gets to be in extreme weather, I actually can't move for that turn. My opponent, who's a Viking, loves extreme weather, and so they get an advantage at that point. But every turn, the weather changes. Okay, so that's totally medieval. Let me tell you about the figurines. So these are the figurines. These are the ones that we've been telling everyone for so long that we were producing, and they sent us the prototypes for them. And the other ones are sadly coming in late, but they are coming. But you can actually see the detail of all these different people. These are actual people from history. This guy right here was one of the greatest archers in history. He was a Viking. And another person, I will not try to pronounce his name. But we also have George Washington, Nikola Tesla, Joan of Arc. So you actually see her holding up a flag with a cape behind her. Short hair, because why?
She wants to be a boy.
No, I didn't want to be a boy.
What she decided to do.
Exactly, yes. And this is the second greatest sniper. The reason why I would pick the second greatest sniper is because the first one was Russian, and he's already in the game. This guy's not in the game. And so we actually produced a figurine for him. And for some reason I can't remember. It's not a hard name, it's just I can't remember.
The American Sniper?
What?
The American Sniper?
No, this is like older.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, this is World War II.
Ah,
Yeah.
Who was the Russian sniper? The guy who had the white.
Yep, that's the first. Right?
Wasn't his name Shudon? No, it was
Well, you're talking the first or the second?
the first.
Yeah, the first one is Simo. Yeah,
How do you pronounce that?
that's how I pronounce it.
Okay.
I'm probably wrong. I don't know. So another thing that we came up with, I guess there's more than 4. Who likes coloring? I like coloring.
Oh yeah.
So I created these coloring books that sadly I can't sell them because they're published by Amazon, and I guess I gave them the rights to sell them, but they won't sell us ones that we can sell at conventions. So you can buy it on Amazon. What's that? Okay, so but this one's of the world, so it's like 20 different people from the game. But we now have the American Revolution, the British forces. You can also get one that's the American force, the Patriots, and also the events or activities that happened during. Or you can buy the complete set, all 3 books. So there's coloring books that we're coming up with. I'm trying to think, I think there's one other thing, but I'm not quite sure what it was. Now comes to the exciting part. This is the part that Red before I said.
If you made it, then how is it Samsung? Or whatever.
Amazon.
Amazon?
If you
I-
made it.
So Amazon actually has a process that, because it would cost me a lot of money to get a book out, they actually print whenever someone orders. So I gave them the rights to print it. And so anytime someone orders, they go on Amazon, they order it, and they ship it straight from there. They'll print it at that same minute and send it out. So they print them every time someone orders. Instead of me ordering 1,000 copies of it, the great thing about that is it proves that it's worthwhile printing. I'm basically proving the, much like we were talking with game design, you want to make sure that people actually buy it. The coloring books, I send it to Amazon, they start printing them, and people start buying them. It shows me that I want to be able to produce them myself, right? So that's something in the process. Another cool thing about the coloring books is we actually have a coloring book competition. That retail stores have a hard time with educational games. A lot of people, a lot of gamers have it because they have this idea that educational games are boring, that they're not well done, all these different things. So maybe retail stores are not the best way of doing it. So we just teamed up with one of the largest chess clubs in the US to start sending the games out to public schools. So in January, we already have, hopefully, we're working on it, 10 schools that we'll go into right away. I've already tried this out in one school and had amazing results of kids that came, loved playing. Every 6 sessions, they'll get a new game to play. So it goes from the homeschooling, which has always been my backbone, and at some point, one of my partners actually told me to drop the homeschooling and go for gamers, and change the name, change some of the things in the game. And I said, heck no. There's no way I was going to leave the people that supported me the whole time, and I was not going to drop the education out of the game. So I went to, so we had to go a different direction. And now by doing this, it all of a sudden brings it all into the public schools. And the hope is, within a year or two, we'll be in hundreds of public schools, after-school activities, all throughout the U.S. Another great thing about it is that my business partner, his whole part is getting into schools and to hire the help to man all the activities. So my job stops being trying to sell it as much and goes into development. Also, the more success that we have, the more games come out faster because we'll have the money to do all these things that we want to do. So this is the future of Historical Conquest. In the near future, we will hopefully be in schools all across the U.S. This year, this is also really exciting, we are prototyping our first Historical Conquest regional tournament. I don't know if you guys have heard of it, some of you probably have, but it will be at the Underground Dojo, October 27th, where you can come and actually compete against other people for prizes and recognition. The first day, I know I've heard some people say that they don't want to play against certain people because they're just too powerful in their decks. Well, we've held them back. We made it so that it's a little bit harder for them. Because what we did, so sorry. So what we did was, the first day you can bring your deck of cards. And you can customize it however you want. The second one, we're going to test you on your skills. So the first one, we're going to test you on your deck. The second one, we're going to test you on your skills. You come, you grab a starter deck, totally random. You don't get to choose it. You grab it out of a bag, and you get to play with that deck. We're going to test your skills. We'll also allow you to trade in case you already have that deck of cards. So you'll be able to trade with somebody else. But we're not going to allow a lot of training because we want you to be able to test out your skills. So you could be a beginner or someone that's really good but doesn't want to play against someone that has a really customized deck. And you can still win the whole tournament. And this is people from all over Missouri, all over Illinois, some people from Indiana I've already heard that want to come to Underground Dojo to play against you guys, if you want to accept. As I said, this is the prototype. We actually are doing 2 this year. We're doing here at the Underground Dojo. We're also going down to Fort Worth and doing it at a retailer there. So next year, we're going to do all, we set up in 5 regions, possibly a 6th one, and we're going to do it at all 6 regions. And then we're doing the national tournaments. The national tournaments have already been set, not the date, but the place. We're going to be doing it at the World War I Museum in Kansas City. So they're already sponsoring us to do this. And so we're going to do it there, where you can come and actually play against anybody throughout the whole country. The great thing about that is it's centralized. Anybody from the West Coast will take 2 days to get there. Anyone from the East Coast will take 2 days to get there. So there's some travel for some people, but if they want to come to the national tournaments, they can actually come and play against you guys. So, the one thing that I'm really excited about, and really want to be able to get this going, and if there's public schools that get together, then those people can come as well. The really exciting thing is in 2020, as well as we have it right now, we've already picked out the castle in Scotland to host the international tournaments. So now we'll actually have this in other countries. Well, we're already starting to get in other countries, but we'll have international tournaments, and all of them will be televised, or not televised, but they'll be on our YouTube or on our Facebook. So you can actually watch people play the game and such. So that is the future of Historical Conquest. Now, I've talked a lot. I know you guys probably have some questions. What kind of questions do you guys have? Would you like to ask? Go for it.
Did you make a rule that you can only make your opponent lose 100 morale per turn?
800 morale. Yeah, so it's a max of 800 morale you can lose per turn. Because my son actually brought me down 2,000 in one turn, and I said, no, that's to stop. Because you know, if you go negative 2,000, what happens? You lose the game. Yeah. Yeah.
First game.
If somebody plays an interrupt against you and then you play a different interrupt that doesn't, like, destroy it. I mean,
Like
doesn't reverse
interact with
it.
it.
Yeah, but, like, I mean, no third, that just kind of, but which one does Mount Vesuvius, like, I'm just exampling that, destroy, I mean, nothing? Or
Destroy
just,
my... No.
well, but if Emmy knows her reverse, like, that event already played, and then Mount Vesuvius is on her, she already used her ability, right?
Yeah, so you're saying playing Vesuvius after all the interrupts are played? So you're trying to destroy the country or the land that was housing that person?
Yeah.
So that should have been on Stump the Creator. Okay, have you guys heard about my YouTube channel? Trace and Clayton always, they always comment on this. But anytime you have a question like that, please send it to, I might just use this one on Stump the Creator, but I'll actually answer it on YouTube and give you a shout out for that. Go ahead.
I have another question for, like, the interrupts. If you play, like, an event that hurts your opponent and then they reverse it with, like, not Emmy Noether, and then can you play something that's not Emmy Noether to reverse the event? Because the opponent actually never played the event against you.
I'd have to look at what's the ability of Emmy Noether, remind me.
You reverse the ability of any card.
Uh-huh.
So Emmy Noether could reverse the, like, if I play Mount Vesuvius on him and then he plays physics, can I play like physics again? Cause it's an event coming at me, or do I have to play Emmy Noether because that reverses the physics? Because actually the Mount Vesuvius is never coming at me, but he reversed it.
Well, okay, so in this point, if you play Mount Vesuvius, you're destroying a land, right?
Yeah.
Physics is not in the land. So you're talking about because of Emmy Noether, though.
Yeah.
So, see, I actually have the encyclopedia, which has all of it, and I actually read it word for word. And Clayton and Trace always try to catch me at this. I really have to see the abilities and how they're worded.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
So email to us, and I'll give you a shout out and just ask that because that's a really good one. I really want to be able to answer it.
Okay, yeah, because my family goes tournaments at a library, and that's always a problem. You don't know what the interrupts with the events.
Yeah, actually, we have, just so you guys know, another really cool thing is we have fans of the game actually creating a wiki page. You guys know what a wiki page is?
Yes.
Yeah, they're actually creating a wiki page with all of these questions where you can put your questions there. We can answer them so they're always there. So that's actually the process.
Okay, so I'm going to use Mount Vesuvius again. So.
Wait. Okay, if it has to do with the certain specific cards.
Oh
talk
no.
about
Okay,
different
so
ones.
if I use. Okay, so say I use like a card that destroys your opponent's land, and then they play a card that like reverses Mount Vesuvius, and then I kill the card with like a CIA or something. Which one works?
Was the CIA played last? Then you destroyed the card.
Okay.
Okay, so
Okay, what's the new Revolution game that you're talking about?
Yep.
The point system, is that for like the, does that go, what does that go to? Like, is that for like the bracket system for Historical Conquest, or, because that's something that I got confused with. The point system.
Points in the scoring in here.
Yeah, you said the points there, so like, where does that go to?
This is basically for you to check on actually your grade.
Ah,
So it's basically you can figure out how you want to work with grades.
okay,
So
so
as soon
you
as-
get credits.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
But the interesting thing is that we're actually going to be creating up a system where you can actually track who's getting the most points. We haven't figured out how to do that yet.
Okay.
So there will be a sense of that. In another thing that's really cool is that with this on our website, if you go on now, you'll actually see that there's a login. You can actually log in as a member, which gives you access to the curriculums, and that's where you get all the information like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is there a rule against, so like you take out your deck, can you put it into separate little piles? Is there a rule against doing that?
I've never made a rule that talks that specifically, except that you're supposed to have all your draw cards in one pile. So if you're saying to keep them out there over a long period of time, yeah, they have to be in one. I can see where that'd be a complication because someone's like, oh, you're cheating because you know where those cards are or which cards are which decks. So yeah. So they're supposed to be in the draw pile. You never draw them. Yeah. If you want, we have things to sell here, and then also you can always go to. Yeah, we have them here. Yep. We have the cards. We have math dice. We have everything that I've mentioned. We have here. Yeah. Sorry, Mike. Okay. Oh, I got. Which one first?
We want to play you in Historical Conquest.
Okay. We can do that. Yep. What time is it? I mean, I think we have plenty of time. Right?
4:43.
What's that?
4:43.
Okay, we had till 6, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. We got time. We probably have time to do 2 games. Good.
how difficult is the math dice?
It's not that difficult. It comes again. It's like Historical Conquest. The game itself is not difficult. It's the strategies that become the difficult. So you have to be able to figure out the best strategy. So my son loves to. He thinks because he's the Vikings, he's the stronger one. Because and the reason why I say that is because a lot of the weathers picked on the Knights when we first designed it. So we modified it a little bit, and now he keeps on getting his butt. So it all depends on the strategy.
I remember a while back you did a star thing, and if you went a certain high, you might make this into an app. Where's
Yeah,
that?
we're still in the process.
Okay, still in the process. Yeah.
So I explained this at the other co-op that I was at today. How much do you guys think an app costs to develop? Throw out a number. An app like this.
I was on a robotics team, and our project was to make an app, and so we went through the stages, but we didn't ever make it into an app, but we did all the research and stuff, and then it cost like $2,000 or $3,000
Okay.
to get like the characters made.
So a simple app. Okay.
Simple.
Remember, Historical Conquest has over 500 cards. How much? Just a number. Go ahead.
About 4 to 500 and 4 to 5,000.
Okay. Go ahead.
4,500.
1 million, why not?
I didn't say you throw out a number. Hey, but, okay. You have a number? 3,000.
300.
Okay, everyone, go up higher, a lot higher.
A lot higher.
A billion.
If it go up from a billion,
It went down from a million,
Oh.
but from
50,000.
higher.
70,000.
Under 100,000, about 80,000 to 100,000.
95,000.
No, it's about that range. It's about 80 to 100,000.
Wow.
So we can actually do that. We can't really do the app, so it's like chicken or the egg, which one comes first? So we are working on it. We're trying to get the funds raised for it, and we will be producing it. It's just the question of when.
So it's like you can't make the table without the wood, but you can't get the wood without the table to chop the wood.
There you go. Okay. Any other questions?
You think that you should have 2 of the same cards in your deck? Can you
tournaments, we've said that you can't. We've now limited to one.
He has 5 Zach Edmonds.
Oh, yeah. Seen that before. I've seen people with like 5, like Vesuvius and atomic bombs and Chernobyl, so, yeah.
Is it allowed to have an all interrupt deck?
All intro. That's like your first. That's a completely first.
So is it allowed?
I don't think there's that many.
I don't think there's anything, there's nothing written about it, so, yeah, it's allowed.
It's hilarious.
So you're all ready for counterattack.
Trace, can you beat that?
An entirely corrupt deck. Maybe an entirely synergizing deck where you gain, like with enemy militaries, gain 200 morale for every woman in your battlefield. And so you just fill your deck with things like that.
So you just need an all-women deck, right? And that would be it.
That'd be pretty cool.
That's awesome. Yeah, that is. Hey guys, any?
Does your wife still want you to get a real job?
Yes. The big thing about this is I've been producing this for 5 years. The first 4.5 years I was doing it part-time. So as of halfway through last year, I did it full-time. The problem is that a large percentage, actually every penny that we got from it went back into the imagery of the game and producing more things. So for the first 4.5 years, I didn't make a penny off this. Now I make a very small amount, and I have employees and imagery that we're still doing. So there's still all. If I stop producing, yes, there'd be plenty of money in it. But I keep producing, and it's more than a passion. It's a cause now, and so that's why I keep producing and keep making new things. But with this new process, this new partnership that I created, this is the point where I can develop, and there'll be plenty of money coming in for both. So at this, when that starts going, yeah, then it's not a job, and then I don't have to go get a real job. So, yeah. I do. I have 4. I have a 6-year-old, an 8-year-old, a 10-year-old, and a 12-year-old. A lot of kids? Or very small. You have 5 kids? Good number. There you go. Anybody beat 7?
I got 6.
There's somebody that has
8. There you go.
I got cheaper brother doesn't they have 12.
What?
Cheaper brother doesn't they have 12.
Exactly. They say that after you have 4 kids, or for the parents at least, or after you have like 3 kids, it's do that. Because you have the older ones taking care of the younger ones. And if you have 12 of them, you have plenty of babysitters. Yeah.
Are you ever going to make figurines for all medieval?
Totally medieval?
Totally medieval.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, they are coming. Yeah, so we actually have a Kickstarter. I don't know if you know what that means. It's a fundraiser online where we're trying to raise the money. We're at 50% right now, and we're trying to get up to 100%, and that will pay for everything that we don't have. We made between 50 and 60 pre-orders of the people that want to test the game. So there's 50 to 60 people actually testing out the game before it's actually produced. They have already given us enough money to pay for about half of the game. So what's left on the fundraiser is the other half that we're trying to get to be able to produce it. We have the manufacturer, and they're actually a faster manufacturer, so this is a little bit longer story. Our first manufacturer, I actually give out numbers. I don't very open with what we do. They wanted $47,000 to produce Total Medieval. So then, as soon as we got the fundraiser going, we had our first fundraiser for it, they jumped the price up to the $62,000. That made it so we couldn't even sell the game. I mean, it'd be impossible to sell a game because there was not enough money in the margin, in the amount to make it and amount to sell it to make it worth it. So we couldn't do it. So we said, you know what? Thank you for everything. We're going somewhere else. So we stopped the campaign, and we stopped it for, I think, 2.5 weeks. And during that time, we actually went to the manufacturer that was giving us these. And we hired them on. And their price was actually just under the original manufacturers. In addition to that, they were also faster. So the hope is that we will actually have this here by Christmas. But the great thing is that even if we don't have the figurines, we're able to produce the mats and the cards. So those are 100% already done. The mat dice also are already done. So whether we have the figurines by Christmas or not, again, we made promises that we were going to have them. It's completely out of control, so I would love to have them right now. It's not going to happen. It's really interesting. There's a YouTube that we have on our channel that actually open up these and present them, and you can actually see not just this form, but the actual form that they come in. So like Joan of Arc, there's a lot of curves in here, right? You put this in a mold, you open up the mold, it would break off every piece. Her legs would pop off, her cape would pop off, the flag would especially pop off. So they actually printed her in 3 different pieces. And you can actually see all the pieces that are there. And that's on YouTube. So it's a really hard thing. And the figurines are the most expensive part of the whole game. So the mats and the cards were easy to produce. That's the issue.
So when you put in an order for the decks, how many do you order at a time for the site in a pack?
So for this example, I'm going to give 2 different examples. Historical Conquest, we've been producing for a long time, so we'll order 2,000, 3,000 at a time. If we get this, when we get this partnership going, we'll actually produce 10,000 at a time because we have to produce. The idea is that you go to one of the clubs, you get a game when you go to the club. So every kid in the club, each school would have about 20 kids in it. We're talking about 10 schools just to try it out next year to prove to other schools that it's a good idea. So right there, that's 200 sets of Historical Conquest foretold medieval. And by that time, we will have the 2-player box, which will have 2 mats, 2 decks, and 2 figurines, just in that box. So we'll have, going back to your question, so we can print these, a lot of them at any time. We're not going to, there's a Historical Conquest 2.0 and there was a 1.0. There's no more O's. It's going to, and if I can help it, it will say 2.0. There won't be any more changes. So we can print as many of these as possible because we're not going to change it. Maybe there are a few still, little errors in it. We will fix those. Or, like you guys have proven, there are some cards that need to be adjusted. If there's adjustments you don't like in the game, blame these 2. Okay. This though, the mats we actually print in the United States. So, how many of you guys would love for everything that you buy to be in the United States? Some people care, some people don't. So I went to some manufacturers in the United States. You know what they told me? They told me that, yeah, that'd be great. We print in China, and we'll give them to you. They are the middleman, and then they'll give them to us. I'm like, wait a second, I already print in China. Why do I want to go through you? And this is, I probably haven't heard the names of the printers, but Letterhead Press. You ever heard of Wheaties boxes? Wheaties is a cereal. It's an older cereal. They produce in China, and they ship them over here. So a lot of these made in the United States, it's usually assembled in the United States or stamped in the United States. So if we can find the right manufacturer, and actually thanks to Kay, her sister, tried to get us in with her manufacturer, and they couldn't even get close to the price that we get over there. And if we print in the United States and we took the higher price, I would love to print it in the United States. But all of a sudden, the price, or sorry, not in the United States, in Kansas City, that'll match that price. So we might actually have it next door. So we don't have to pay for shipping, and we get them a lot faster. That's for the mats. So usually we print these in like 100, 500 at a time, which is also probably why we have a little bit of back order times. But we have a new company now that will make it faster. The cards though, so here's the mat dice. We're gonna be selling these forever, and there's no chance of any kind of changes that need to be done here. The other decks, these decks, we printed 300 for the first print. Because if there's anything, our customers are going to find. You guys are some of the brightest people that we have that could go through these decks. and you might find something that needs to be changed. So we print something small. The next one would be about 1,000, 2,000, 10,000.
So there's this card in the deck. I mean, it's just a printing thing. I can't remember which one it was though. It was a businessman who has like money ringing in the sky.
Andrew Carnegie.
It says choice, but it only gives one option.
Yes. So there are still little errors in it, so we will be tweaking those. And it's like I tell them, if someone wants to send me that card, I will replace it, or they can keep it, but I'm going to take that card from them. So I'm going to trade them cards. But if they don't want to keep, if they want to keep it for themselves, it's a rare card because it will never be printed again. Every other card that's in there that's fine will be printed 1,000 times, 10,000 times. That card will never be printed again.
Wait, so like this one, the 2.0 or the old one?
So even the 2.0, the one that he was just talking about, that one card, because the errors can be fixed, will never be printed again. The card will be, but without the error.
But it gives you a choice.
Yeah. So if there's an error in the card, people have the choice of sending it to us and we'll trade it to them, or they can keep it because it's again,
Cool.
yeah. Okay. Anything else?
I have a question about I have some cards and it says Napoleon Bonaparte named and they say if you win the first attack, so like the first attack of your 2 attacks per turn.
Their first attack. So that would be something that we should also fix. Yeah, so it's anytime their first attack, because it's the card's ability. Yeah. Okay, we're going to answer these 2 questions and then we're going to go playing the game. Go ahead.
Do you have any ancient decks from the ancient cultures, like ancient Egypt or ancient Mesopotamia?
The only deck I have is the Roman deck right now, but, so this is the first curriculum. As of mid-next year, we'll have the ancient curriculum coming out. It'll have 4 Mediterranean ancients. It'll have the Greeks, the Egyptians, the Romans, and the Persians. And those will all have their own decks. So those will be 4 that will come out at the end here.
What's the difference between the 2 Zach Edwardses? Because I have like 2 pieces, but they're different.
The old one's
You have
better.
2 different buildings.
Yeah, because look, they're the same card, but they have different stuff.
Okay, so this is a great question. This comes up a few times. So my business card, whenever I run out of business cards, I order like 1,000 at a time. When I run out of business cards, I will post it on Facebook and say what should my ability be, and I'll have people from Facebook choose my ability. So that's why I will change. And that one was somebody that put it on there and wanted to change to that.
So, and why did you change that? Do you think it was too overpowered?
So the Vesuvius deck is pretty overpowered, right? It's pretty powerful. I shouldn't say overpowered. It's pretty powerful. And so my partners decided that one of the cards had to be redone, and they chose Vesuvius. But at the same time, people have been asking me this over and over and over again, so I might be changing it back.
The old Vesuvius is amazing, the new Vesuvius is kind of...
Yeah, exactly. Because you love the epicness of that thing. Which is also another, there's one more thing I want to say. Also, we're coming up with a new starter deck, or sorry, not a new starter deck, a new deck concept. New to us, it's not new to anybody else. We're doing randomized decks. We're not doing it for any of the decks we're doing, or the ones that we're producing. We're doing it for rare cards. So you guys have been collecting rare cards, right? Yeah. We do not want to devalue the rare cards. So what we're doing is we're using the same images, but we're changing the abilities. They'll be less powerful. They'll be in the 2.0 version. But this is so that people that were not able to get those cards that really like it, like Blackbeard, they will be able to come back and actually get that new card.
You're making decks out of rare cards, but the cards aren't rare and they're really supposed to be.
So they'll be rare in those decks because they're going to be randomized decks where we're going to add more people to them and more lands, more common people. And then you'll be able to search for the ones you want. My problem is, and this is because I grew up with Magic, I spent hundreds of dollars on my decks, and to me, I wasted my money. Not wasted in the fact of, I like the game, so so it was worth it to me. But I wasted it, and I bought hundreds of decks to get one card, and I never found that card. I don't want to do that to my customers. I want you to be able to, if you want to, find the cards that you want. But we wanted to give one for retailers who've been begging us for this, but also we want to give some of the hunt to everyone. So we'll give you the option. But again, all of the standard decks, they have their own set of cards, completely the same.
Can you buy single cards if they're not rare?
We have not come up with a process for that yet. Okay, thanks guys for everything, and let's play a game. Yeah.
It's almost dead, so
If you guys want autographs or anything else, if you have any comments or questions, add them to the comments below. Otherwise, we'll see you tomorrow actually. Take care. Bye.